It's been a little bit since I did a movie review, so I'm going to be doing one today. And today is about Ad Astra. Yes, the movie with Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. Now, yeah, this movie came out in 2019, and it is a space flick. I'm huge into space. I love that whole genre. I love the whole idea of the unknown. And this movie had my interest when it originally came out in 2019, and I'm now only watching it 2 years later. I don't really know why movies take me so long to watch. It's weird. It's like some movies, I'm like right on it. I'm like, yeah, I gotta watch that right now. Right when it comes out, I gotta go to the theater. For some reason, there are certain movies that even when I do want to see them, it takes me years to watch it. So this movie has taken me about 1.5 years or 2 years to get to, and I finally watched it on Crave TV last night. Now, before I get into the movie review, I just want to remind everyone, if you could please drop a like. It does really help me out. It helps the algorithm. It's a crappy algorithm, but it does work. And also, please do subscribe or consider subscribing if you like this video, if you like my other videos. So as all my movie reviews begin with, let's check out the ratings this movie got on IMDb. For a user rating, this movie did get a 6.5 out of 10, which shows it's generally divided amongst general audiences. And then when we look at Metascore, which is the professional reviewers, they gave this movie an 80 out of 100, which is crazy high. It's so hard to get 80s on these types of movies. And there's only like specific movies out there that have gotten 80s, like, you know, The Dark Knight or Inception. Pretty much anything Christopher Nolan makes, he gets 80s. I mean, the fact that this movie got an 80 out of 100 is that's pretty good. That's better than good. That's amazing. Now, this movie was enjoyable. I think it's a solid film. I'm not going to give my rating right now because I saved that for the end, but it's a solid movie. I enjoyed it. The only other movie I've seen by James Gray, who, by the way, directed this film, is We Own the Night, and that had Joaquin Phoenix in it, and I thought that movie was awesome. When you watch Ad Astra, you definitely get vibes from a lot of different space flicks. You get 2001 Space Odyssey vibes, you get Interstellar vibes, you get The Martian vibes, you get a lot of vibes. Vibe it up. Vibes. The vibes. Did the vibes. Vibes. So as y'all know, in my movie reviews, I don't like to completely spoil the film, especially if this review makes you yourself want to go watch it. So I don't want you to know exactly what happens, but essentially, as all sci-fi space flicks play with, is the idea of extraterrestrial life, which this movie definitely plays around with, because on multiple occasions they do mention, you know, the pursuit of extraterrestrial life. There's a base on the moon in this film that is the leading department of extraterrestrial research. So essentially, Brad Pitt plays this astronaut named Roy McBride, and he needs to venture across our solar system to reach his father at the other end, which is around Neptune. And Brad Pitt's character hasn't seen his father, which is Tommy Lee Jones, by the way, in about 30 years. They went on this mission called the Lima mission or something like that, and they head off to Neptune, or to the outer edges of our solar system, to see if that part of the solar system would be better suited for finding alien activity or extraterrestrial life. And in those 30 years, there is complications with that team. His father never returns home to Earth. People think that their ship got lost out in the deep reaches of the solar system, and obviously the only people who know the truth are the government. So Earth is getting hit with these electrical flares, these electrical charges that are coming from Neptune and whipping their way all the way over to Earth. And it's causing natural disasters, it's causing a death toll that hasn't been seen in years. So now the government has reason to believe that the ship that Brad Pitt's character Roy, his father, Tommy Lee Jones, their ship would 30 years ago resided around Neptune. And the government starts to wonder if that has something to do with what is going on with Neptune. Because essentially, if Neptune keeps whipping Earth with these electrical charges, sooner rather than later, Earth will be no more, and it will result in the extinction of the human race. So you see Brad Pitt essentially start from Earth to the moon, to Mars, off to Neptune. So it's this basically 1 year journey, because this world is 3 generations into the future, so they have a little bit better technology than we have. What would take us probably a couple of years to get to Neptune only takes him about 3 months. And there are things that James Gray did in this film that are just so interesting, and it's not far off either. And I don't know if it's amazing or almost somewhat scary because of how accurate this is. There's a part where he has to go to the moon to take another shuttle to Mars, where on Mars he will be able to transmit data to his father, essentially giving him a message to be like, hey, Pops, call me back, it's been 30 years. So on the way to the moon, it's like you're going to an airport. You go to the airport, you wait for your flight, you board the ship, then you have like flight attendants who walk around and give you food and water or a drink. They hand out hot towels, and it's like you are taking a plane flight to the moon. And it was so amazing because I can see that happening very, very soon in our societies. Also, when he gets to the moon, he boards off the space shuttle that brought him there with all these other businessmen. They weren't even astronauts. Some of these people on this ship were just businessmen that had business to do on the moon. So he gets off, and there's this massive, I don't want to say massive, but a decently sized city on the moon. And just us humans to do something like this, you see a shot in basically the airport of the moon. And there's a shot down the hallway and you see a subway. There's a subway on the moon. So, I mean, and I've always said this as a joke, but now it's not really a joke. When is the first McDonald's gonna be on the moon? Because we all know it's gonna happen. I think something else that James Gray really executed well is the sound in space, which there's no sound at all. You hear absolutely nothing. And he captured that so well because there's a scene on the moon where they're taking like this Jeep, like a vehicle, to the shuttle that will take Brad Pitt to Mars. And as they're driving to that shuttle, they get attacked by pirates. They're driving away from these pirates, and because gravity on the moon is not as heavy as it is here, when they're driving on the surface of the moon, they're kind of like hovering a little bit and bouncing around more than usual. They just have this really cool fight scene where the pirates are clearly trying to steal the resources on their moon Jeep, and some of the government officials' Jeeps that were following in behind Brad Pitt's character, their wheels are popping off, and you see scraps of metal flying up into space, and the Jeeps are flipping uncontrollably, and that was done very, very well. Now, what type of movie is this? Is this sci-fi, extraterrestrial, alien versus alien, human trying to save the planet type of ordeal? Is that what type of story this is? Or is it something completely different? And it is completely different. This movie, I think in its own right, can be used as a character study. It has its psychological moments to it, but it is about judgment of character. A lot of this movie is about the social issues and personal problems that Brad Pitt's character Roy suffers through from the beginning to the end. Stuff like having a girlfriend or a wife who was actually Liv Tyler, and I just find it really funny that she's playing another astronaut's wife because this is Armageddon for her all over again. But he suffers with issues like losing a loved one due to the fact that he's not emotionally available. His head is always up there and not down here on Earth. Daddy issues. You know, haven't been able to see his dad in nearly 30 years and honestly wondering if he's dead. They even explain in the film that when his dad disappeared, his mother, I believe, was having health issues, which obviously would lead to her death. So Brad Pitt's character is very closed off. He's very short-sighted like this and not this. In his own right, he has selfish tendencies and he doesn't know how to open up. And as this movie transpires, you see Roy McBride's character, you see Brad Pitt go from someone who essentially thinks he is this way because of what has happened his entire life. Losing his mother, losing his father, not thinking there's anything else out there for him. And then about halfway through the movie, he starts to think, no, I am my father. The type of person my dad was very selfish. He was very closed off. He was all about up there and not down here. And what I mean by that is up in space and not down on Earth. Maybe it's not what's happened in my life to make me that way. Maybe it's my father. Maybe I literally am him. Once he gets to the end of the film, he's done this entire journey nearly on his own just to find his father, to see if his father was actually alive and if he has anything to do with this whole Neptune situation. And during that 3-month flight, being completely alone and isolated and no one to talk to but yourself and your own thoughts, he starts to realize that if my father is alive, and if what I have learned about him throughout this story is true, I am not my father, and nor do I want to be my father. I need to be better than him. I can learn from his mistakes and be a better man. Because you do find out in this movie that his father is an asshole. His father was gone for 30 years, and you don't know what actually happens to him. And on this journey, he starts to find certain things from certain people about what happened with the Lima mission and what happened on their massive ship of people who were sent to the outer ridge of the solar system to study for alien life. During dark space travel, we have lived our entire lives on Earth, and when you spend months and years away from our home planet with the only thing that you can see is when you look outside your window, this dark blue planet, which is Neptune, just hovering there, or on the other side of the ship, just complete blackness with specks of stars, that's not gonna sit right with a lot of people, and that's going to psychologically screw up so many lives. You find out that over the years, the people on this ship were like, this mission's a failure. We can't find extraterrestrial life. We want to get the hell home. We want to go back to Earth. But Tommy Lee Jones, the father of Brad Pitt's character, was like, no, there's alien life out here. You're just not looking properly. I'm the only one who can see. And essentially, there's a huge mutiny on the ship, which results with Tommy Lee Jones murdering everybody on the ship, just so he didn't have to return to Earth. So he decided to stay around Neptune and continue his life's work for alien research. The sad thing about that is when Brad Pitt finally sees his father again, his father full out tells him, like, you know, good for you for making your way here. I'm impressed with the man you've become, but I gotta tell you, son, I don't care about you, and I didn't care about your widowed mother. My life is up here, not down there. And I think that's the story of the movie, is the fact that Tommy Lee Jones' character is so blind by the life that's actually in front of him. He is so concerned about what's up there, about life that he doesn't even know if really exists out there, but he doesn't give two shits about the life he gave to someone, which is his son. I do feel this lesson of don't forget the life around you. Don't forget to live the life that you've been given. I feel that so strongly as a lesson in this film. So I'm gonna quickly get into a couple of things I wasn't a huge fan of. There were a couple of actors in this film, like Donald Sutherland and Ruth Negga, and I thought they were gonna be in this movie a lot more, but they weren't. And they were actually only there to just give vital information to Brad Pitt's character, which would open up the story a little bit more as the movie went on. But I was kind of hoping we'd see a little bit more of them. Also too, the whole energy surges that were whipping Earth from Neptune, you do end up finding out what was causing it, and it was an antimatter chamber within Tommy Lee Jones' ship that is constantly turned on, and the effects it has on Neptune is creating whiplash effects over to Earth. But they don't really describe it all that well, and they don't get into it all that much. They basically just show you the antimatter chamber, and there's maybe 1 or 2 lines about how like, oh yeah, this is what's causing the energy surges crossing over to Earth, and that was it. But the whole movie is about stopping this from happening to Earth, pretty much, and they barely talked about it. There's this cinematically appealing scene near the end of the film, but it doesn't make sense at all, and it is a little silly. There's this part where he's leaving Tommy Lee Jones' ship, and Brad Pitt needs to find a way to get from his father's ship over to his ship, which is a huge distance. It's super far. So there's like this spinning kind of satellite on top of Tommy Lee Jones' ship, and Brad Pitt is standing on top of it, and he unscrews a metal sheet over the satellite, and he puts it in front of him. He holds it in front of him, and as the satellite is spinning, he uses the momentum to push him off, flying directly back to his ship. Neptune is surrounded by an asteroid belt, so to get through to his ship, he's gonna be pegged with asteroids, small rocks. So he's got to use this piece of metal to cover his body as he flies over to his ship. And as he's flying, hundreds if not thousands of asteroids keep pegging the little shield he's got covering him. That wouldn't work. Like, come on. Either the rocks are gonna shred through it and kill him, or he's gonna be bounced off his trajectory no matter what, so he would never make it back to his ship. I thought that was a little silly, and like I said, cinematically appealing, yes, it's got like a momentum to it, it's got like a thrill, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not right. The last thing I'll say too is I do honestly think they could have benefited from maybe teasing or hinting or even somewhat showing extraterrestrial life. They kept mentioning extraterrestrial life in this movie, talking about alien life forms and if they're out there, and that it was a huge research topic for all astronauts and scientists. I think they could have benefited even if it was just a smidge. If Brad Pitt saw his father again, and when looking through his research, his father did say like, son, I found something. It's out there. And maybe if it was just this really crappy black and white smudge photo of like a alien doing the Sasquatch move, where he's like walking through the woods and he like looks at the camera, I think they could have benefited from just a little bit of something, but I get it in a sense where the movie is not necessarily about finding life out there, it's about the life here. The review tank needed a little bit of gasoline, so I'm pumping it up right now, and we're gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. I thought this movie was good, it's solid, it has a lot of great moments, and I think some great lessons and metaphors that you can take away from it. There are a couple of things and a couple of scenes that I'm just not a huge fan of. I did think the movie had a ton of slow moments. Even the main plot point of the film about the whole neutron waves hitting Earth could have been explained so much better, since that is really what Brad Pitt was trying to stop, and they ended that plot point, the main plot point almost, within 2 lines. They shouldn't have been shy to make this movie longer than 2 hours, and really the movie's an hour 50 minutes because credits is about 10 minutes. So they could have made this movie 2.5 hours. It could have benefited from being a little bit longer. Would I watch this movie again? No, probably not, but I did enjoy it nonetheless. One-time watch was good for me, so a 7 out of 10 it is. But anyways guys, that is it for this video. Like I said at the beginning, if you did like it, please leave a like and subscribe. And like always, I will talk to you all very soon.